All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fifth episode of True Talk. A couple reminders before we start: the gameplay on the screen is, in fact, my own. However, it's not necessary to understand the video. It's just there as like a extra visual. It's not going to have anything to do with what I'm talking about ever, so don't feel obligated to completely pay attention to the video. You can have it on in the background. You can have it on while you're driving. You can have it on while you're trying to fall asleep. You can have it on whatever. You don't have to watch the video. And also, I feel like it's necessary to give the age rating because I am an educator. I feel the need to give that beforehand. This is about a low rounded PG 13 ish, is what I'm saying for these, just to keep that in mind as we proceed. So, today is a bit of a special episode to give you a heads up. It's basically all going to be a current event instead of me having the actual different segments. It's going to all be surrounding one specific topic that is relating to something that I just did because it's fresh in my mind and I have a lot to say about it. I picked a really bad time to do this because I really have to use the bathroom. But oops, I guess I'll have to do that later in an hour or so. But today I'm going to be talking at length about Disney World, my trip there. I just got back from a week-long trip there and had a really good time, honestly. The worst part, I don't know what it is about Disney World, but it's like it's almost like an unbelievable experience. Like, I don't want to overhype it or anything, but it's like legitimately like peak designed like theme park type stuff. Like, the theming is extremely like exquisite there, to put it into words. um like, every park is so well designed. It feels like you're literally in like a fantasy world, or like you're in, not the, I don't want to say the jungle, but like in the wild, I guess, in like Animal Kingdom's example, or like the World Showcase in Epcot, where it's designed around like different countries and such. I would consider myself a Disney World, not expert, but someone who's been well traveled there, considering that I live pretty far away from it. I'm from Minnesota, so Florida's quite a ways away, but I've been there like 6 or 7 times. I'd have to count. I went in 2005, 2006, 2009, 2012, 2017 with the marching band, 2018, 2021, and now in 2023. So I've been 8 times now. So I've been there a good amount, so I feel like I know what I'm talking about relatively. I don't remember the first like 3 trips very well because I was 5, 6, and 9 years old, but still, it's like I've been there a good amount, so I feel like I know what I'm talking about with it. But overall, it was a really fun experience. I was a little I always, like, lately especially, have been concerned that when I go there I'll have like aged out and it won't be that fun for me. I do like, this is kind of my parents' like signature trip outside of our fishing trips up north. Like, our big trip always that we'd like wait years and years for. Sometimes we don't have to wait years and years, but you know what I mean. Like, my parents plan a trip to Disney World frequently enough to where it's not a regular, it's like a semi-regular occurrence, I would say. But we don't get out to like places of like historical value. Like, we've been to Mount Rushmore once. Been down to Tennessee to see like Graceland and stuff like that down there once as well. I've been to the West Coast a good amount and seen some sights there, but yeah, sometimes I do like feel a bit of regret, like not having, like, not that I had a choice in the matter, but like not having gone to places with a little more like historical value than Disney World. Like, Disney World, I would say you have to go there at least once because it's pricey, but it's such an incredible experience. Like, pictures don't do it justice. Picture and video don't do it justice. You have to be there, like, to physically see the castle, physically see the Epcot ball, because it's like, it's like literally a massive work of art. Like the entirety of Disney World. Even like the resorts are so well made. But I had a point and I lost it. Well, what I was saying earlier, it's pretty much every time I go to like the Disney parks, it's like it doesn't feel like I'm there. Like I have a hard time like fully experiencing and immersing myself in it, and then I find that I really end up missing it when I get home. Like I feel like remembering back on the vacation, like feeling sad. Like I still get that sort of feeling with it when I get home, but it's like when I'm there, I have a hard time fully living in the now, living in the present, I guess. I don't know, it's weird. I think it was ungodly hot, let me tell you, when we were there. Like, for those of you who are maybe like Florida connoisseurs, it was like the real feel was 120 degrees every single day, at least. Sometimes it got up to like 125, 130. I actually went for a run one evening and I looked at the heat index afterwards and it was like 100 degrees and I was like, that's why I was dying. But yeah, it was ungodly hot and it made it feel cool when I came back to Minnesota, even though here it's like high 70s, low 80s still. It feels almost cold when I'm not cold, like not like I'm shivering, but it feels cool when I'm outside, even though it's in the 80s, because I'm so used to it being upper 90s, feels like 120 degrees. Like, it was pretty bad, because it's like if I wasn't in peak condition, like if I had like even a slightly off day, like my allergies kind of bug me when I fly, because I get like I'm just in an unfamiliar place, so my throat's like dry, my nose is a little plugged occasionally, so I'm not like all there entirely. But yeah, it wasn't miserable because there's a good amount of AC in most areas. There are some, Animal Kingdom as a whole, for one, is really bad about like not having a lot of AC, or like there's shops there but they aren't like on your way anywhere. They're kind of like tucked in a corner or like against the barrier anyways, so it's like you can't, like, for example, when you're going down Main Street in Magic Kingdom, you can like go through the Emporium and that takes you all the way up Main Street and you're inside for the entirety of that. But in Animal Kingdom, there's not really anything like that where you can go inside on your way to like down the road or whatever. Epcot's World Showcase is another one that is really, really bad because there's not a lot of shade. There's not a lot of there is indoor stuff, but it's like, it's not like on your way anywhere. Like you have to go out of your way and then you're like not making any progress towards your destination. You're just sitting in there to like chill for a bit. There were a couple bad moments in a couple of the meals got to me a little bit. Like I think I got not necessarily food poisoning, but like I had to be in the bathroom for a while, I will say, after eating at the Tusker House, and my stomach felt really off afterwards. It was partly due to the heat didn't make it any better. We ate there at the Tusker House and then waited in line for the Avatar River ride for I think it was like 65 minutes. And that queue, most of it is out, like it's outside under cover, granted, but it's literally just fans blowing the hot air at you, basically. There's no new cool AC air being blown at you, and I was literally dying in there. I thought I was going to like pass out, throw up, combination of the two, and it was making me really anxious because I was like, there's nowhere to go, there's no garbage cans, and like it's like that moment where it's like trying to find like an escape, like that sort of thing. Like I was like looking for the nearest garbages, there were none near me, and I was like panicking because I was like, if I throw up, I literally have nowhere to go but the ground and in front of all these people. Like, it was not an ideal situation. I ended up making it through the line fine. My sister gave me her bottle of water, thankfully, but yeah, it was not fun. And then I exploded after dinner in the bathroom. Not to get too graphic, but it was not a pretty picture. It was It was not I don't think it was the dinner, because there's no way it had that quick of a reaction. We ate at the Chinese restaurant at Epcot for dinner, and it was immediately after I ate that dinner, and nothing there really made me feel upset, but I felt off the entire day before that. So I think it was the Tusker House, but I'm not positive on that. Another bad moment was another character dinner buffet, but this time the Crystal Palace. I had been at Animal Kingdom all day alone beforehand, and when I'm alone and don't have my parents to, like, nagging me to get shade or seek shelter, I pushed myself probably a little too far in Animal Kingdom and only really drank one bottle of water. I like the entire trip, I think I consumed about 3 to 4 bottles of water on average a day normally, but at Animal Kingdom, when I was alone there, I didn't really spend any time whatsoever getting water. I got one bottle the entire time I was there, and then... Sorry, I got a text and lost my train of thought. And I was fine. I felt a little rough towards the end of my time at Animal Kingdom, like I practically had to drag myself to the bus stop. And then when we got to Crystal Palace, I had a migraine in the restaurant, and it was terrible. I thought I was literally going to die and, like, throw up. Once again, at least there was a bathroom to get to, but my dad also got sick during the trip early on, and his symptoms were a massive headache and a sore throat. And I had a sore throat that morning, so I had the suspicion that I was getting sick. That didn't end up being the case. And I had a really bad headache, and my brother was being a major germaphobe the entire trip because he's still 12. He doesn't want to lose out on the magic because he gets sick. So he was, like, avoiding my dad at all costs for the entire trip. But I felt like I couldn't tell anyone that I had a headache because I didn't want people to panic that I was getting sick. But I was literally sitting there dying. I went to the bathroom once and tried to act like I was having stomach problems. But then it was like the bathroom was like my place to hide, because I felt better when I was in there because I was more isolated and alone. But in Crystal Palace, I'm not one to complain about screaming kids, especially not at Disney World, because that's their place to be kids. But it did not help any matters to be in... Or it didn't help matters any of the fact that we were in the Crystal Palace, which is one of the most, like, kid centric restaurants in, like, all of Disney, with the Pooh characters. And there were kids just screaming, yelling. Like, there was music playing in the restaurant, but you could not hear it because there was literally not a moment where there was not something going on that was loud. And it was making my head, like, spin. Like, I literally couldn't focus. I barely ate that meal, and it was a buffet, so it sucked. And yeah, it was not a fun time. I will say that much. So that was kind of some of the heat woes. I think I'm actually going to pause the recording quick to go to the bathroom because it's getting kind of bad. Okay. Sorry for the weird cut. I know it wasn't any time for you, but I just relieved myself. But anyways, we were talking about buffets. That leads me into my first, like, main point that I wanted to talk about relating to the trip. I want to talk about the food. Specifically with something that's on my mind right now about, like, the buffets and such. I don't see it, like, now that I'm older and I'm more paying attention to the prices. I didn't pay this time whatsoever. My parents paid for all of it. But because it was a family trip. But now that I kind of am more aware of how much everything costs, I just don't think there will ever be a buffet that is worth it at Disney, because you're paying around $40 to $50 per person, and there's no way you're eating the amount of food required to actually make that worth it. Because, like, looking at the menus for, like, a lot of other restaurants, they don't, a lot of them don't even come close to that amount unless you get like dessert with it, which, fair enough, if you add dessert it becomes about equal to that. Some restaurants it still would be less, like the Chinese restaurant, all of the entrees were I think under $30. Maybe not all of them, but most of them were under $30. And granted, that was a place we got appetizers. I maybe would have ordered dessert if we wouldn't have gotten appetizers, but like, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is I felt more like fulfilled eating my spicy orange chicken or whatever it was at the Chinese restaurant than I felt eating at the Tusker House for our breakfast meal. And I realize I'm not the target audience for these character dinners. And a lot of the buffets are character dinners as well on top of that. So maybe I'm not within my right to speak on this, but even like with kids, the character dinners, you're basically paying to see the characters. That's basically what half your money is going into, which I realize that maybe is the point, but they end up being almost not anxiety inducing in like a horrible way, but it's like, I'm like, I can't get up to get food now because the character's over there and they're 2 tables away, so now I just have to sit here and wait for Tigger to come by, and then, oh, Piglet showed up, now I have to wait for him to get by because I'm not gonna be able to get up and get my food and get back in time before he's done. And sure, maybe I don't have to care, I'm 23, but my brother was also very insistent that we were all there for the characters when they came by, so that was also part of it. But even like with kids, like he's very much still into meeting the characters, and I honestly don't mind it. I've always had like sort of an awkward feeling around like mascot characters, because it's like, I know there's some person under there that's acting like this character, and like, yeah, I could play along, but it just, I don't know, something about it just feels awkward. I met a few characters when I was there. I met Joy and Vanellope. Those were pretty much the 2 that I voluntarily went and met. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just at that awkward stage. I feel like the mid-adult stage is like when it's weirdest to interact with the characters, because it's like you're getting out of the kid phase where it was fun and cool, and you're not quite like middle-aged people. It's like, oh, cute, I can take a picture with Pluto, awesome. But like when you're my age, it's like, why would I want to do that? But yeah, I don't know. It also doesn't help that I've been so many times, like I've been there 8 times. So it's like I've met all these characters before, done this song and dance. It's like, it's nothing new for me to go and meet Mickey. So it's like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, as I was getting to, the point with the character restaurants with kids is it's like they're constantly worrying about when they should take out their autograph books, when they need to be ready for the characters, so they're not eating either. So, and I realize the kid prices are lower, but that's like only 9 and under. Like, it's ridiculous that they split it up that way. It's always been that way, so it won't change, but I really think there should be a middle tier where it's like kids are still 9 and under, and then there's like the pre-teen sort of age to like early teens where it's like 10 to 14 maybe, and then when you're 15 and up you're charged as an adult. That sounds like you're being charged for a crime, but it's ridiculous that kids that are 10 and up are treated as adults in the buffets when they're eating the kids' food. They're not going to eat that much. It's like, it's ridiculous. But I could rant about buffets at Disney World forever. I'm gonna move my laptop, so you're gonna hear a bit of a mic spike here, probably. If I can move it. I don't know if I can. I will try. Oops, my battery pack is like stuck. I'm plugged into the wall, but okay. I'm in my bed and I was like, I had to roll over. I was uncomfy. But yeah, I could rant about buffets and character restaurants for like ever because it just, I don't know. And on top of it, the food at the buffets is never even as good. Like, it's like, why would I spend 40 something dollars for a meal at Crystal Palace where I'm getting a lot of food but not the highest quality food when I could go to Le Cellier at the Canada Pavilion and get like the filet mignon for like the same price. Like, you can get some of the best food in Disney World for the same price that you're paying to basically just shove your stomach full of crap food. Not that it's garbage, it's fine. There's nothing like inherently bad about it, but it's like, I have never been that impressed with any of the food at buffets, and that kind of goes for the family style too. The family style a little less so. There are some really good family style restaurants, like we had a really good experience at Liberty Tree Tavern. And Garden Grill is okay. We went to Ohana, and that was pretty good, but it's like, the family style is almost worse than the buffet. Like, granted, the food overall quality, I would say, is better at the family style restaurants than the buffets. But it's like, usually what'll happen is you'll get like a whole platter of random foods, and maybe 2 or 3 of them will be good. Like, we went to Ohana on this trip, like I kind of briefly mentioned, and that was probably the best of the character dining experiences we had. I've been to, I think, all of them now. Like, I don't think there's one that I haven't been to. The only one that I really don't remember is the princess dinner, because it's been a while since we went there. Back when, like, my sister cared about characters when she was younger. But, oh, what was I gonna say? We went to Tusker House, Crystal Palace, and Ohana was by far the best character restaurant, like, food-wise. The ham there is really good. The ham, and there's something else that was really good, too. The coconut cake. The coconut pineapple cake. Or not cake, but bread. That was really good as well. We got, like, biscuits that were, like, really dry, and the eggs were, like, a slight step above hotel scrambled eggs. Like, it was about that quality, but a little bit better. It wasn't that terrible, but it was not that much better at the same time. Yeah, it's just, I'm gonna end my rant about these restaurants just saying, I just don't get it. Because even some of the buffets, we went to the German buffet, and I will say, when, like, after we had the buffet and we got home to the hotel, my family went last. Well, no, it was my brother and my parents went last year in August because they got like some special on Disney Plus, and it was after school started for my sister and I. But they went to the German restaurant then, and they said that it was way better then than it was this time, but I wasn't overly impressed with it. I was really excited to eat there because I heard that it was really good. It was on my list that I've been wanting to eat there, like, for our last, like, 3 trips. Because we always, my family, like, us siblings always make, like, our top 3 for every park and send them to my mom, and then she kind of narrows down the restaurants that she books based on that. But I was not overly impressed by the German restaurant, and I've heard really good things about it too, so maybe it was just an off time, but I just find it weird that all of the food there would be, like, not as good as what it was last time. And granted, I have to say as well, right before I ate at the German restaurant, I kind of gorged myself a little bit on some Food and Wine Festival pavilions too, so I wasn't overly hungry either. But that shouldn't make a difference on flavor. Like, if something's good, it's just good. It's not gonna make that much of a difference, whether I'm hungry or not. What else? That's pretty much it, like, with the whole buffet family style thing. I don't know, maybe I just from, I've been to Disney so many times, and it always seems like the buffets are very kid-friendly, but also, you just spend such ridiculous prices there. It's just a bit of a yikes to me. We had some really good restaurant experiences, and some like, really unexpected ones. Like, I think my favorite meal the entire trip was the Mama Melrose's. I had the shrimp pasta there. I can't remember what it was called. That was, I think, the best dinner that I had the entire trip. The Chinese place was also really good, and both of those were, I think, the least expensive. I wasn't really paying that much attention because I wasn't buying, but I did kind of look, because I'm thinking about planning a trip there with my girlfriend and I, so I'm like thinking in the back of my mind what the cheapest good options are for food. And yeah, that was really, really good. Like, the pasta at Mama Melrose's was really very good. I think Hollywood Studios dining is kind of underrated. I don't know. I can't think of like a bad restaurant. I haven't been to the Sci-Fi Diner in a while. We've now been to every. No, we haven't been to Woody's whatever, but I heard that one wasn't that good. I've been to almost every table service restaurant in Disney, or in Hollywood Studios, at least once, but I have not been to, one, the Sci-Fi one in a while, and two, the the Woody's Roadhouse Rodeo, or whatever it's called. I haven't been there ever. We were gonna go this time, but my mom read the reviews and people were like, it was bad, so we switched it to the Hollywood Backlot something or other. I should really have looked these up before if I was gonna talk about them, but both the Backlot and the Mama Melrose's were really, really good. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else we had for food. The only Animal Kingdom place we ate at was Tusker House for breakfast, because usually what we do is we spend a half day in Animal Kingdom, which is kind of regrettable. My family, like everyone, does not like Animal Kingdom. Like, they're against it almost, which feels bad for me because I actually really like Animal Kingdom. I might, like, I don't know. I just don't, it's kind of an underrated park to me. Like, I used to fall in line with my family and say it's basically a glorified zoo, but Pandoria is super cool. The Avatar rides are both, well, all the rides really in Animal Kingdom, we're going to talk about rides later, but all of the rides in Animal Kingdom are actually really pretty solid, except for the one, like basically Dumbo but dinosaurs ride. That one is not terribly out there, but it's, all the other ones are really actually very good. And I don't get why it's got that reputation, specifically among my family. Like, I could see it being your least favorite Disney World park just because the other ones are so good, but I don't understand, like, completely hating on it like my family does. And even if it is a glorified zoo, I haven't gone to the zoo in a while, so I went there alone. That's why I went there alone, because I wanted to see some of the animals. But yeah, the only restaurant we ate at Animal Kingdom was the Tusker House. I wanted to eat at the quick service Avatar place, but I just didn't have the time with the amount of time I spent in line for when I was there by myself. And I didn't have that money, or that much money either. I'm trying to think of where we ate at Magic Kingdom other than Crystal Palace, because I know we ate somewhere else. Well, we ate at Cosmic Rays, which is kind of just a classic. I really like the ambiance of that restaurant. I think it's the best it might be the best quick service restaurant theming wise in like all of Disney World, but I don't know. Like this, just where you're able to be seated. I really like. Also ate at a quick service Star Wars restaurant early on in the trip that I almost forgot about that had really good food. Well, yeah, it had really good food, but there was like nowhere to sit. It seems like that's a trend for some of the quick service restaurants. There just is not enough seating, especially indoors when it's like this hot. We had to sit out in the sun just baking at the Star Wars place. And it was just like, it was a disaster in there because it was like people were just basically watching other people eat. Like people who had just gotten their food were just sitting there kind of hovering around watching other people eat so they could just swoop in and take their table as soon as they stood up. It was that bad. But that's what the heat will do to people. But yeah, Cosmic Rays, the food was pretty bad, but that was partly on me because I forget that Disney World burgers are not good. And I got a burger there just because it sounded interesting. I got their like special burger that had like the cherry Coke barbecue sauce or something, and I could not tell the difference between that and regular barbecue sauce, I'm going to be real with you. But burgers at Disney World are never that good. Mine had a bone in it too. So, either a bone or a tooth, I don't know. Something special in there. It was Cosmic Ray's toenail or something. Seasoned it with love. A random funny story. I once again paused the recording and took a bit of a cut. I have to shut my door quick, I'll be right back. But, I actually went and, like, interrogated all of the members of my family to ask them if they remember eating anything on the other day we were at Magic Kingdom, because I couldn't remember doing it and I thought I completely blacked it out of my mind. But legitimately the only thing we ate at Cosmic Rays one day, we ate at Crystal Palace that same day, because that was the day I went to meet characters early in the morning with my brother. And then we ate at Cosmic Rays, I went to Animal Kingdom, I came back and went to Crystal Palace where I had the migraine. The other day we went to Magic Kingdom, we only had ice cream at the Sleepy Hollow place, I think it is, that has ice cream. And that was it. I think I wasn't very hungry that day for some reason. I can't remember what the deal was, but I just had, I think, a soft serve chocolate dish. I did come back there for their special Halloween thing, but I'll talk about that when I get to the Halloween party discussion later. But yeah, I guess the only places I ate at Magic Kingdom were Cosmic Rays and the Crystal Palace, which both were kind of mid, other than... What the heck is going on here? Other than, like I said, the ambiance, like the venue of Cosmic Rays, I think is probably the best quick service in the Disney parks. Well, like in Disney World. But for Epcot, like I said, we had the German restaurant. We also ate at the Chinese restaurant. I think that was it for Epcot. And I talked briefly about both. The Chinese restaurant thoroughly impressed me, and the German one did the opposite, probably because I went in with such high expectations, because I had really been wanting it. I'd heard good reviews on YouTube, had people rave about it, and my parents talked it up as being one of their favorite experiences last time they went, when I didn't go. And it was okay, but it was like your average kind of Disney buffet where the food isn't quite as good as when you just get a regular table service. I don't think we ate anywhere else at Epcot. I'm literally running through everything else. And I think that should do it. No, we ate somewhere else at Epcot the first day. Why can I not remember? Why is my memory so crap? This is literally me having like a mental breakdown on the podcast, like dementia moment, trying to remember what we had for our meals. Shoot. Well, because the day we got there, we went to Epcot, and I cannot remember for the life of me what the heck we ate. It might still be in my list in my phone notes. I'm literally going to have a mental breakdown because I can't remember what. It was the British place. God. Rose and Crown. That was really good too, actually. They don't have a very wide variety on their menu, but what they have there is really good. I can't remember what the name. I had the bangers and mash, and it was really good. And my brother, that was the only time he ordered off the adult portion menu the entire trip, because he ordered the fish and it was like a massive, like I couldn't have finished it. But I got to have like 2 of his pieces of fish, and that was really good as well. And their fries, or crisps, were chips, whatever, were very, very good. Thoroughly impressed. I love eating at the places in the World Showcase, except apparently the German place, which was my highest expectation and ended up plummeting. But I really like eating at the World Showcase restaurants. I think that was pretty much it, because we ate at the day after that. We ate at the quick service Star Wars place. There was 2 of them. I ate at one, or I got my food at one and brought it over to the other. What I got was like it was like a hot dog in like a pita bread with like coleslaw on top of it, and it was really good. Like it wasn't like typical hot. It was like a sausage, not a hot dog. There's that difference, but it was really very good. And that was where we struggled to find a place to sit, but granted, it's Star Wars land, so it's like, obviously there's gonna be a bit of a struggle on that front. But still a little annoying. I don't remember what my family actually got to eat, but it looked like just typical. Like, they ate at the one that I got my food at didn't have very many menu options, but what I got was really good. Some of the best quick service food that I've had at Disney World. Like, I usually go into those with low expectations. But we ate there, and then that night was when we ate at the Hollywood Brown Derby, which I think is where I got the seafood platter thing, and I was not expecting there to be octopus on there. That was my first time trying octopus, and I had a really hard time stomaching it, partially because I had no experience like eating octopus, so I was like, I don't really even know what I'm doing here. And of course my sister like leans over to me and she's like, because she's had octopus before, and she was like, you might want to chew up the suction cups, they can get stuck in your throat. So then I was like, the entire meal I was like anxious that I was gonna like choke on a suction cup and die, or something. Not die, but like get it caught in my throat or whatever. But and then it was like super fancy because the shrimp came with the heads on and everything, so that was a bit unnerving. I've never had shrimp with the heads still on them before, and it was okay shrimp. My experience with shrimp at Disney has not been really the best, to be honest, but it's okay. And honestly, the best part of that meal was the seasonal fish, which was swordfish, and they also had like a specific just the seasonal fish dish on the menu, and I should have just gotten that because the swordfish was the best part of that entire platter. There was scallops and mussels too. The scallops were really good, but there was only 2 of them, I think. But yeah, that was good. I kind of wish I would have tried something else rather than trying to be a little adventurous and getting the seafood platter. But I'll keep that in mind for next time. Then I'm trying to go over like what I did every day. Monday, I think, was the Tusker House in the morning day. That was when we had Tusker House in the morning, China at night. Tuesday was when we basically just had ice cream for lunch, and then Um, what was it for dinner? Shoot. It was something at Hollywood. It was Mama Melrose's, which I still stand by. That was the best dinner of the entire trip. I'm kind of just reiterating stuff I already said. There is one restaurant I haven't talked about yet. We stayed at the Old Key West resort, which was super nice. We got one of the villas, so it was super spacious. Like, it was literally, like, bigger than my apartment. Like, my entire unit. But, it was super nice. It's a really good hotel to stay at. I'm not too picky with, like, hotels in general, really, because I'm like, everywhere I go, the hotel is just where I'm sleeping at night. It doesn't have to be high quality as long as I can do that, as long as I can sleep in it effectively. That's what my main concern is when it comes to hotels. I'm not too concerned about how many amenities it has, because especially at Disney, because I'm not going to be spending much time there. I'm a person who spends most of my time at the parks. But we also ate at Olivia's, which is the restaurant in Old Key West, and it was really good, actually. Like, I don't know too much about the restaurants that are in the resorts, but this was up there for some of the best food that I've had. Like, I had the shrimp and grits, and it was really good. I think I had grits at one of the the only breakfast we had. I had it at the Tusker House, and it was not nearly as good as it was at that place. And they had, like, southern style crispy chicken, which my brother said was better than KFC, which for him is basically like putting it in God tier, because he stands by that KFC is like the best chicken he will ever eat. So it must have been pretty good. I didn't get to try any of it. I had his mashed potatoes, but that was it. But that was a really good breakfast. If it's not a restaurant you're familiar with, I would highly recommend traveling over there. I know it can sometimes be a pain to, like, go to one of the resorts. It's always is for us too. We didn't end up eating there this time. We had a reservation, but we dropped it. Boma is one of my family's favorite places to eat over at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and that's probably, like, the best buffet in Disney World. But it's always a pain, because it's like you have to find a way to get over there, whether you take a bus to another resort and then take a bus there to the other resort that you have your reservation at. Which is like a 20 to 30 minute long ordeal, it can be. Or we had Ohana, which meant we could go to Magic Kingdom and ride the monorail to Polynesia, but that was still like a 20 to 30 minute ordeal. It's always a bit of a trek when you're going from one resort to another for the meal, but I would say Olivia's is probably worth it to stop by at least once, especially if you're staying there. Like, you've got the table service restaurant there, might as well eat there. It's really solid food. Okay, taking a bit of a break though from food, I did want to rank the rides at, for one, every park, and then kind of combining it into one super mega list of all the rides in Disney World and kind of comparing them. But if a ride is not mentioned, it is because I have not ridden it, or I feel like I haven't ridden it, like, maybe I rode it when I was like 5 or 6, but I can't judge it based on that. Like Dumbo, for example, I waited in line for it with my dad, and I, like, screamed and cried when I was like 5 years old and did not end up riding it. That's one example. But I'm gonna start with the smallest list of rides. Animal Kingdom. Like I said, Animal Kingdom has a lot of consistency with its rides. Most of them are good except for the whatever it's called, the Tyrannosaurus spin or something like that. I don't know. That one is basically, like I said, just Dumbo but with dinosaurs, and I get that it's like in the carnival area of the park. That's kind of what they've chosen to do with their dino. Like, the dinosaur area is to make it into, like, sort of like typical, like, fair type thing. But when it's the only ride like that there, it just feels out of place. I know they used to have the roller coaster there that was like a death trap. Not actually, but it felt like it. But for now, it's like, it feels really off with the theming. I mean, at least it's a kiddie ride to go there, which is nice, but it's, like, kind of lame. So it's by far last. Next is Dinosaur, partially just because it's a classic. I haven't ridden it in a while. I rode it for the first and only time in 2021. Yeah, 2021 December. So it's been a while since I've ridden it. And I feel like it would be more fun if I rode with friends. I rode it alone, so I was paired with a few randos, as we say. But it was still fun. It's a super cool attraction, and it's cool just how much they can do with that. Like, they really expanded on the dark ride element, where it's like everything is literally pitch black and you only get to see what they want you to see, because they shine like bright lights at you so your eyes don't adjust fast enough to be able to see. You literally can't see anything until the light's shining on it, because your vision is messed up because you get light shown at you. But yeah, it's not my favorite just because it is a little dated, but again, it's a classic. Speaking of classics, the next is the Kilimanjaro Safaris. I really like this one just because, for one, you get to see the animals. We saw a rhinoceros taking a massive shit while we were on the ride this last time, which was a very invigorating experience. It reminds me of that movie Blended, the Adam Sandler movie, but it's always really enjoyable. It's a long ride too, and always like worth your time to go see. Like, for some maybe it's a little boring, but I actually really enjoy seeing animals, because I don't get out to the zoo very often anymore, so it's like it feels a little more special to me. But yeah, that was Kilimanjaro Safaris. I did ride that this time. We managed to get on it with pretty minimal weight, like 10 to 20, I think. Next, I'm putting Kali River Rapids. This was kind of a tough. The last 4 rides were really tough to rank because I really like all of them. They're some of my favorite rides, like in general. Kali River Rapids, I don't know if it's Mandela effect, but I swear they had way more areas where you got wet. Like, I swear you went like under waterfalls and stuff like that, but now it's like there's one drop, and I think that's it. Like, unless I got an unlucky ride through it, it was one drop where, like, sure, a massive wave came up over us and we all got soaked, but it was like that was it. It was one thing. And I swear I remember it being like way more than that, but I don't know. I don't remember it well enough to be able to definitively say that yes, it's like changed. But someone correct me if I'm wrong. I really like the queue of the area though too, with all of the like artifacts around and stuff. The wait time for it was extremely exaggerated too. Like it was listed as a 65-minute wait, and I think I waited like 20 minutes. But maybe that's to steer people away since it was so incredibly hot, and most of that queue is outside. Next on the list, in third, is Expedition Everest. I haven't ridden this one in a while. I didn't get to it this time because when I returned to Animal Kingdom, Everest had been broken down all day, and they literally like just got it back up running when I got there, and it was literally an 80-minute long wait for the entire time, and in my opinion, it's not worth waiting 80 minutes for, but that's based on memory alone. I don't remember it all too well, but just the ride in general is just a spectacle. Like, it's like, yeah, the Tree of Life is the icon of Animal Kingdom, and it always will be, but the giant Mount Everest is a sight to behold, to be fair. And the massive Yeti inside is also something else. It's a super like awesome like engineering feat, just that roller coaster in general. The next on the list is the Navi River Journey. I don't remember what it exactly is called, but I really enjoy this ride. I've only been on it twice, I think, because it's it's always a really long wait, and I prefer, well, the other one, which is obviously ahead of it. But so it usually ends up being one or the other. Luckily this time I got to ride both. And it had been a while since I'd been on it. Probably I rode it in 2018, and then this time I didn't get to ride it in 2021. But it's just a spectacle. Like, there's so many things in that ride that like make me question how they even did it. And it's so immersive. Like, I really like rides that just make you feel like you're in the universe that they're set in. And the river ride does that perfectly. Like, it's just such an immersive, amazing experience. I will also say, this is off topic, but there were some people ahead of us in line that were faking a disability to... I don't know why you would, because people in wheelchairs don't get that much privilege in Disney. Like, it's like, sure, you get to be the first one on the bus, but I can't really think of any ride where you like get preference over the regular people waiting in line. Not to say regular people makes it sound bad. Sorry, I'm just annoyed at these specific people who faked that they needed a wheelchair for whatever reason. And you may wonder why I know that, but it's because we waited in line behind them in the Navi River ride, and for one, they were really annoying because they kept sitting on the floor and taking forever to get up when the line would move, and I was like dying in there, remember? And it was just I hate when people do that. Like, they sit down and just refuse to get up and move the line. It's extremely annoying. Like, it's like, I get it, we're gonna end up getting there anyways. It's not like... But I really did not want to be standing in one place in that specific moment. But the reason... For one, the first clue was the kid who was sitting in the wheelchair. When they got to the Navi River ride, they, like, sure, hopped out of the wheelchair and, like... Well, for one, the mom, like, just ditched him and just let him kind of hobble over to the ride. And then when he got in the ride, he basically put full force on the foot that was supposedly the one that was bad. And then to solidify it, when we got to the Cali River, or not Cali River, it was Kilimanjaro Safaris. When we got to that ride, the other kid was in the wheelchair, and the other one was just walking around, running even, like running around in line, just completely fine. And it irks me. I've never seen anyone do that, or like, I've never seen any specific evidence like that before. But it really bothers me. I would have said something to, well, I probably wouldn't have, but they didn't speak English anyways, so I couldn't tell them off for it. But I don't know. Maybe they just brought a wheelchair along because it's like an adult stroller, so it's like you can take a break instead of walking the entire day. Maybe that's the reason. But he also was acting crippled when he got on the Navi River ride. So it's like they definitely thought they had something to gain by acting that way. But yeah, I don't know. It's super, super annoying. But anyways, number one is Flight of Passage. It's one of my favorite rides in Disney. It's such a cool experience. And again, even though it is a VR type dealio, it's the most immersive ride of that type in Disney, because it's like you can feel the thing breathing under you. It's like it's crazy how accurate it feels. And I catch myself like leaning along with the loops and turns and stuff on the ride, and it's super cool. I always like get almost emotional and like tear up during like the big climax part when you fly up over and see everything. Like, you get like the perfect view of like the world, and it gives me chills every time. a super fun experience. Another story that's like totally random, but well, not random. It has to do with Flight of Passage, but doesn't have to do with my ranking. There was yet another family that was in front of me in Flight of Passage that didn't speak English whatsoever. From what I gathered, I don't think they knew it was a ride, because when we got to the final area where you like get on, I was in the back row of people, and they were like an entire group of people in the front row, and they just would not board the ride. Like they just wouldn't move. So we couldn't do any. We were just at an impasse. We couldn't do anything. And eventually, the cast member who was running the ride was just kept reiterating, like, the ride is this way. Come this way. You need to move now. And like, sure, yeah, I have tolerance for people who don't speak like English as their primary language. Like, it's like, I get it, but they had to know something was going on. Well, and it doesn't help he was being the guy that wouldn't move, the guy that was like first in line that would not do anything. He was bitching us out in the queue, like yelling at us to stand, that we had to stand on the numbers, like during the part like where they're like scanning you or whatever. He was like, you have to be on your number or the ride, it's not gonna do anything. Like, he was like yelling at us for it. So I already had like sort of an aggravation towards him to begin with. And then we got there and he wouldn't move, and I was like, I had been waiting in line for 55 minutes, which granted isn't that much for that ride, but still, I was getting aggravated. And then the entire group just walked right through. Like, I don't know if they didn't know it was a ride, or they didn't understand, or what the deal was, but they just walked in the room where you sit down and put all your stuff away, and walked right out. And then, along with that, I was with another group of people that didn't. There was separate groups of people here that didn't speak English. And when after they did their final checks and the cast member left, they were like trying to get off the ride. Like, they were like yelling and trying to get their attention as if they were going to come back in and let them off. It's like, you had plenty of time to chicken out or whatever. And then the ride started, and from what I gathered, I think they enjoyed it, but it was a experience, to say the least. But that ends my Animal Kingdom ride ranking. Okay, next was another. I'm gonna reposition myself quick here, but there's another park that was really pretty difficult to rank, because I really like pretty much every ride here. Like, some of these at the bottom, God, why am I having so many issues getting my laptop moved? Okay, whatever. Like, this is Hollywood Studios, by the way. I was kind of surprised by like my ranking here, but I really like every single ride that I've ridden in Hollywood Studios. Hollywood Studios has some that are harder to rank, because it's like, is it a show or is it a ride? I did not put Muppet Vision 3D in my ranking. And one ride that I haven't ridden at Hollywood Studios is the Alien Saucer ride, so that is not part of this ranking. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I don't think there was, but if it's not on here, again, I probably didn't ride it. That's the only reason that it didn't get ranked. The bottom of the list is actually the Millennium Falcon ride. I've ridden this ride twice, and both times I've not been terribly impressed. Like, and I was the pilot both times too, so it's like, you can't say it's because I was one of the people who was sitting back there doing nothing, but it's fun, and it's a cool immersive experience, but I don't know, it feels so short for the amount of time that you end up waiting for it. Like, it's always like 80 minutes. We ended up getting a lightning lane for it, so I didn't wait that long, but it was, I don't know, it just feels not, like, it feels overhyped to me. Like, I don't personally care for it that much and just think Star Tours is a lot better. But I do like the fact that you control it a little bit. Like, you can, like, you feel like you have control of the ride, which is super, well, and you do have control of the ride. It can be as leisurely or as crazy as you want. And I even got a little bit sick on it. I didn't end up throwing up, but I felt close. But, yeah, I don't know. It just feels like not a lot for what you wait for it typically and what people like say about it. I just think it's a really underwhelming compared to the standard ride. And even I liked it a little more the second time, I think, but even the first time I was like, was that really it? Like, I was hyped for that ride, and it didn't really deliver that much to me. But that might just be me personally. And again, it's not that I don't like it, it's just my least favorite ride in Hollywood Studios. But then next is the Tower of Terror, which, again, this one, I was surprised to see it this low, and you're like, it's your own list. Well, how can you be surprised? But it's because I do really like the Tower of Terror. This is where it comes in, like, it's hard to rank some of these because I really like all of the Hollywood Studios rides. But it's just a matter of comparing the other ones. Fun factor and theming, I don't like Hollywood Studios quite as much. Hollywood Studios, I feel like, is a must-ride, like, one time per trip, but I'm not gonna do it any more than that. Like, I'm not, like, scrambling to get it in. I don't know. It's okay, and again, it's a classic. It's been one of the mascots for Hollywood Studios since they can't seem to decide what their mascot actually is, like what their icon actually is. It used to be that sorcerer hat that they ended up getting rid of. But, yeah, Tower of Terror is it's a solid ride, but theming-wise, it just doesn't resonate with me quite as much. And I'm not a fan of Power Tower type rides. The only reason I like it is because it has, like, the hotel type theme, and it's really cool. Like, it has a really cool looking queue as well, I will say. Next is Slinky Dog Dash. This one, it's hard to get an accurate representation of because I've ridden it once ever, and it was in 2021. This time, we got the Genie Plus to ride it twice, and both times it was down. We had issues with rides being down pretty much the entire time we were there, and we were wondering if maybe it was due to the heat. Maybe something with the extreme heat makes the rides run, like, have a harder time running, specifically like the roller coasters. Maybe the metal expands or something and it makes it not work. I don't know. I'm not a science major anymore, so I could not tell you. But I didn't get to ride Slinky Dog Dash this time, and I'm kind of salty about it. It's not my favorite roller coaster, and I remember it was fun, but I wasn't, like, overly impressed by it, and I don't understand why the wait time is always so ungodly long for it either, just because it's all outdoor queue. So I don't understand why people wait 2 hours for that ride. But I don't know, from what I remember, it's just a fun roller coaster that's kind of generic, but it's still fun in its own right. I don't know. I don't really remember that much about it, I'm gonna be honest with you, so this is just a ranking based on my very limited memory of the one time I rode it. But yeah, it is just down a lot as well, but it just has that issue being that it's an all-outdoor coaster. Next on my list is Toy Story Mania, and I have a bit more to say about this because I played it twice, or I say played it because it literally is just a game, but I rode it twice this year, and I love this ride. Like, I like it more than Buzz Lightyear, I'll even say. Like, it's extremely fun, and it's like, it's just a really fun, like, arcade score attack type game, and I really enjoy playing it because the controls are so well, I think I might have broke the gun that I was using, because the ending part where you have to like shoot as fast as you can, it was not going. It started like petering out at the end. I think I might have broke the gun from pulling on it too hard, but normally they are very responsive. Like, the controls are very responsive, and all the games are super fun. And yeah, I don't know. It's a ride that I feel like will never get old. Like, it's surprising that it isn't like dated from it being a rather old ride, because it was there before Toy Story Land was even up. I don't remember when Toy Story Mania exactly released, but I know I had the game on the Wii, so it was a while ago. And it has one of the best, if not maybe even the best queue in all of Disney World. Like, I really like the design of it. It's a super fun queue to just walk through and see everything, like all the gigantic toys. It's really nice. The next one on my list is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I surprisingly really like this ride. It's like a kiddie ride with so much charm in it that it's like one of those rides that's just, I say this word too much here, but it's a spectacle. Like, it's got so many cool effects in it, and I don't know, it's a ride that has me smiling the entire time. It's not a thrill ride or anything crazy by any means, but it's just totally immersive. Like, it feels like you're in that universe that it's depicting, and I actually just love it and have a really enjoyable time on it. I'm running a little low on time, so these explanations are going to get a little more lackluster as we go. Next is Star Tours. This one I have a lot of nostalgia for, just because it's the classic Star Wars ride before they even owned the rights to Star Wars. But it was... I went on it this trip, and I'm super glad. I read they're adding more scenarios next year, actually, like more planets next year, which is super cool. I swear I get the same ones like every time. I feel like I always get Hoth and Naboo every single time. I don't know how many different ones there actually supposedly are, but I feel like I get those every single time. I wanted to have the time to ride like 3 or 4 times this time, now that the wait times are down because of everything, all the other Star Wars stuff. But I only ended up getting to ride it once, but I swear I get the same ones every time. But it's super cool. It is, again, literally just you're sitting in front of a screen that's 3D, and it's a motion simulator type dealio. But that doesn't mean that I don't still get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And the giant walker in front of the line is one of the coolest things ever. It was mind-blowing to me when I was like a kid, and it still is as an adult. It's super cool. But yeah, it's mainly nostalgia that has it ranked this high on my list, just because it's like, it's another ride, kind of like the last one. I smile the entire time because it's like, it's just fun, and it brings back memories of riding it when I was younger. Next is Rock and Roller Coaster. I unfortunately did not get to ride Rock and Roller Coaster this time. Kind of similar, for a similar reason to Expedition Everest. It was down almost all day before I got there, and then when we finally got to Hollywood Studios, it like just opened, so it was literally like a 2-hour wait the entire day, or the rest of the day, so I didn't end up getting on it. We did get a lightning lane for it, for me, but it was either I would get to ride Rock and Roller Coaster, or I would get to ride Star Tours and Toy Story Mania. And I decided to do those two because, for one, I got to spend time with my sister, which I don't get to do as much anymore. I got to ride Star Tours and Toy Story Mania with her, and I would have just been walking over to Rock and Roller Coaster alone, which would have been a bit sad. But I do really like Rock and Roller Coaster. It's super fast, super fun, and hopefully I get to get on it next time I go to Disney World. Number 1 is Rise of the Resistance. Again, it's like, it's totally immersive. It feels like you're in a Star Wars movie, and I would say it's more of an experience than a ride, which is what they were going for, I think. The ride part itself, there's not a whole lot of it, but it's just the whole experience that you go through Rise of the Resistance is actually crazy how immersive it is. Like, it's so incredible. Like, the first time I got it, or the first time I rode it, I was like, this is the best ride I have ever been on, ever. It's not my favorite ride in Disney World. It was when I rode it, I think. Well, no, I think I still liked Avatar Flight of Passage a little more when I first rode it, but it is still something to behold. Like, it is a must ride, and there is a reason why the wait times are always incredibly long. Okay, now moving on to Epcot, which I think is my favorite park, but it's hard to say because I really like Hollywood Studios now with Star Wars stuff as well. They're close, but Epcot has probably the most disparity between the rides. Like, the ones that are lower on my list, I don't necessarily not like, but they're definitely lower than there's a lot more distance between the bottom ride and the top ride than any other park, I think. And I'm trying to think if there's anything I haven't ridden on in Epcot. There's stuff that I didn't get to ride this time, but I don't think there's anything I haven't ridden unless you count Turtle Talk with Crush as a ride, which I don't. Starting at the bottom of the list is Figment, the Journey through Imagination. I can see this is just a very kid ride. And again, it's a classic. They've changed it a couple times, and it's fun, but that's about all there is to it. It doesn't do anything terribly spectacular. It's got some cool set pieces throughout the ride, but it's nothing like something like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which I know it's not trying to be. It's trying to be simplistic. It's just teaching you about the senses and imagination and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's fun, and that's about all there is to say about it. It's not terrible, and it never has a crazy wait time, so it's fun to just get on it, walk right on sometimes. It was the first ride we rode this trip, actually. But next I have Nemo, and these two are kind of close. Nemo, it's a fun ride, but it's so basic because it's you're facing one way the entire time, so you literally it's only half a ride. You know what I'm saying? It's so simplistic because the back half is literally blank because you're only facing one way. And it has some cool set pieces, but it's just a lot of screens, really, where you're just kind of living through the movie. And it's not quite as immersive because you're just going through and looking at screens of scenes from the movies a lot of the time. I really like the jellyfish part. That's probably the coolest part of the entire ride. And I always thought the lanternfish thing was kind of interesting. I swear, and my parents both say it too, I can't find any evidence of this whatsoever, so maybe it's a Mandela effect. I have a lot of these, I swear, with Disney attractions where maybe it's a Mandela effect or something, but I swear the lanternfish used to be scarier. It used to jump scare you. And it's originally I thought maybe it's just a little kid thing where I thought it was a jump scare because I was a child and afraid of things easily. But my parents remember it that way too, which makes me makes me inclined to believe that it was that way for a time. But I couldn't find any evidence that it was ever any different than it is right now. Next, we have Mission Space Green. Mission Space Green is super cool. It's a super cool ride, especially to take someone who doesn't really, can't handle the orange mission. Like my brother. But we got off Mission Space Green this time, and he was just boring, basically. It's fun, but it's just kind of a relaxing trip into space. It's nothing too crazy, and it's again, it's like you're put in front of a screen and just moving you around. It's a pretty basic ride, all things considered. But again, it's a cool experience, which is why I would put it above like Figment and Nemo. It's like, if you haven't ridden it, I would ride it, but if I didn't, like, I had to pick between going on Mission Space Orange alone or taking my brother on Mission Space Green, and I chose to go with my brother. Like, in an instant like that, I'm gonna go on Green, but almost all the time I'll pick Orange above it. Next I have Soarin', which may be a hot take. Soarin' used to be the hot item in Epcot, and it's amazing just how much it's grown above it, like, just as a park. Like, Soarin' is not near the high attraction of the park anymore. And I think it's just because it's kind of dated. Like, it got dated really fast because of all the more advanced, like, simulators that have been made since then. And even stuff that was made before then, like, I think Star Tours is much better than Soarin'. But that's me as a Star Wars fan. I always thought it was cool as a kid because it's like you got to smell the smells and stuff like that when back when it was new. But now that it's not old by any means, it's still a very fluid ride, but it's like there's not a lot to it, and you realize that now when it's surrounded by so many rides that kind of have exceeded it. I don't know. I feel bad ranking it that low because it's cool, but I just don't feel like it's ever going to be a must ride, and it's really weird because I remember when it was like the ride at Epcot, when it was like 80 to 90 minutes all the time. Next I have Spaceship Earth, which both of these I kind of thought were a bit interchangeable because Spaceship Earth, again, is kind of dated. The screen technology is, like, really behind the times now, which they are updating it. They've announced that they were going to do construction, like, it was announced for, like, May of 2020, I think, and then COVID happened and set everything back. I'm guessing they're going to announce a new closure date for it after the Moana stuff opens up. But who knows? It's going to be upgraded eventually, though. It does still have some really cool scenes, like the animatronics in it are, like, top-notch, and some of the set pieces are really cool looking. Like, there's a lot to that ride. Like, I always forget how much there is in it, like, how involved it is. And it's just crazy that, like, thinking about the fact that you're in the big ball, like, that's part of the thrill of it, is that you're in the big ball. But the fact that the entire, like, back portion of the ride is literally you just going backwards down, just literally going back down the ride. Like, they couldn't add anything to that. Like, that's pretty much the entire purpose of the screen, I feel like, is, like, as a kid that used to terrify me because I thought I was gonna fall out or something. I feel like the literally only reason that they put the screen in the ride is for that exact purpose, to, like, distract the kids while you're going down and to nothingness. But that's, like, a pretty long descent. I feel like they should have and could have added something in there eventually. The scene where you see Earth is extremely cool, though. I really like that. Next, Three Caballeros. This is a ride that's similar to Nemo in that almost everything in the ride is, like, screen-based. Like, it's like, yeah, you're going on an adventure with the Three Caballeros looking for Donald, but it's like everything's on a screen, so it's not entirely that immersive. But the set pieces around the ride are super well made, and it's very culturally sound, it feels like. And also the animatronics at the end are really, really cool. It's a nostalgia ride for me because that's the ride we would always kind of go to get out of the heat every once in a while, or get, like, off of our feet as well. And my brother loved it, so we would go on it, like, over and over and over again, like, in previous years. This year we rode it twice, but I still really, really like it. And it's just it's just fun. That's about all there is to it. Then I have the land, or living with the land. We always called it the land. I don't know if that's typical among people, but or not, but this one is just a relaxing ride. Like, we rode it twice. One time was when I was like dead tired later in the trip, and I was like I was like zoned out the entire ride. I wasn't even like on my phone or anything. I was like just out of it the entire ride, but that's just because it's such a relaxing ride, and that's part of the enjoyment of it, I think, as well, even if you aren't interested in what the ride's talking about, like plants and agriculture and stuff like that. I think it's always fun going through the greenhouse the first time every year and getting to like look at everything, or not every year, every trip, getting to look at the greenhouse again for the first time. Is super enjoyable, just getting to see all the plants and stuff, because I'm a plant guy, kind of. I mean, my girlfriend is an ecology major, so I kind of have to be. But even if you aren't there for the agriculture aspect, it's just really a really relaxing ride. And it's, again, kind of like Three Caballeros. It's a good ride to get on when your feet hurt or you want to get out of the heat, just to ride, because the wait time is never above like 20 minutes. And I probably wouldn't wait longer than 20 minutes for the ride, to be frank. But it's a long ride that gets you off your feet for a while, and it's just super, super relaxing. The antithesis of relaxing is next, Mission Space Orange, which I did not get to ride this year, mainly just because it didn't work out timing-wise. It was never down or anything. It's just, it's kind of out of the way to walk there, for one, and when it's so hot out, it's like you do not want to walk all the way over there. The reason we rode on Mission Space Green was because it's basically right outside of Guardians of the Galaxy, so I was like, alright, it's a 5-minute wait, let's just do it now. I thought about going back in and doing Orange, but we were meeting up for something. I can't remember what. I think we were meeting up to... I literally can't remember why. Because it was like we split up. The guys, my brother, me, and my dad went over towards Guardians of the Galaxy and Mission Space, and my sister and my mom went over to the World Showcase to go shopping. So, and then we ended up meeting up over in like Imagination Land, or oh, it was because my brother wanted to meet Vanellope. Or no, we had the Visa, we wanted to do the Visa card character picture thing. That's what it was. We wanted to meet up for that. That's why I didn't go on Mission Space Orange, because that was a 15-minute wait, and I didn't want to waste everyone's time. But from what I remember, it's a super immersive experience. It's just, it makes me the most sick out of any ride in Disney World. I've been on it twice ever. Maybe 3 times. I can't remember. It's either 2 or 3 times that I've been on it. But like this whole centrifugal force thing where you can feel yourself being pushed against the back of the seat is a little unsettling, because it's like, it almost like chokes you out, the amount of push that you feel. But it definitely is the most accurate feeling like simulator in Disney World. It's super immersive, it's fun. I don't know what more to say about it. I enjoy it, but I don't have a lot like of accurate thoughts to say because I didn't get to ride it this year. Another ride that I didn't get to ride this year, regrettably, was Test Track. Again, same situation. This ride, when we went to Epcot, was, and like, it was open other days, but we just didn't make our way over there. We had other plans. The day that we were going to ride it, it was down all day, and then we get there, it's down for a bit longer, and then it goes up, and it was literally like 120 to 150 minutes, like, wait time the entire rest of the day. And it was like, we were not waiting that long for that ride. I barely even really remember it. I know it's fun, but it's not like, it's not anything crazy. It's fun, but it's like, you don't get that much theming out of it. You're literally just, it's in the name. You're testing cars, going through the test track or whatever. But it's fast. It's the fastest ride in Disney World, but it doesn't do anything like inherently special. Next, a ride that I'm really glad we got to go on, Ratatouille. I really like the Ratatouille movie. It's my second favorite Pixar movie. It would be my favorite if Soul wasn't a thing. Soul is so relatable for me. But I love Ratatouille. I love the Ratatouille universe. I love cooking. I love food. I love rats. One thing I'll say about Ratatouille is I don't really understand why the lines are always so long, because to me it's not a ride that I would wait an hour for. Because kind of like some of the other rides I mentioned earlier, it's a lot of screens. Like, it's 3D granted, or 4D or whatever, but it's a lot of screens. The one set where you're like in the kitchen or like in the food closet or whatever is super cool. And I like took off my glasses or like slid them up for a bit during that part to be like, is this real or is this like screens? It is indeed real, and it's actually a really cool set piece. But the way they did design it is really cool, because it really does a good job of making you feel like you're the size of a rat. Like, that immersion alone is done really, really well on that ride. Second is Frozen, which may come as a surprise. The one problem, I think it's nearly a perfect ride. Like, I will admit, I love the Frozen movie. I love the music from the Frozen movie, which is partly why I love the ride, because the music is very present. The one thing that I complain about with the ride itself is I wish they would have they used the exact same track as the I can't remember for the life of me what the name of the ride was. The Trolls one. The, like, historical, like, mythical Norway ride. Whatever it was called. They used the same track. But I feel like it does the Frozen ride a bit of a disservice. Because what happens is it doesn't give the songs, like, each set doesn't feel like it's quite long enough. Like, I wish each bit was a little bit longer and there was a little bit more breathing room between them, because it feels like I'm still listening to the song from the previous room and it's bleeding into the one that I'm going into now. And, I don't know, that's my one complaint with it, because I just feel like there isn't enough space for each set to really be taken in. It just feels like they bleed into each other a little too much, and I wish the track would have been extended a little bit for that purpose. But I will say the one thing that works really well is the whole Elsa scene where she sings Let It Go and you fly backwards. That gives me chills every time. I love that part of the ride. One of the best moments in any Disney World ride, in my opinion. Number one is Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously. This ride is like, it's like Space Mountain on steroids, where it's like, it is just like insane. Like, it blew me away when I rode it. Like, I was just smiling, laughing the entire time, because it was just an extreme amount of fun. I know I've said a lot of rides are, quote, fun, but this one was just extremely fun because it just felt like you were there. Like, it legitimately felt like you were there in the Guardians of the Galaxy universe. And it had me, like, it's one of those rides where I rode it and I was just thinking, how does this even work? Like, what is even going on right now? And it's just a super, super fun ride with a lot of really cool like set pieces too, because some of it is screens, but it's like some of it is like physically there, and it's hard to tell between the two which are actually there and which aren't. But I'm almost at an hour and a half. This might actually be longer than I thought. I might actually have to end this after my final ranking of all of the rides and talk about the extra stuff on a later episode, like the Halloween party and the Food and Wine Festival. Those were my other topics I wanted to cover. But let's move on to Magic Kingdom. This one has the most rides, but I'm going to try to kind of breeze through them a little bit. I didn't get to ride this one, and I haven't ridden it since I was a kid. But Tomorrowland Speedway is just kind of meh to me. It doesn't really fit in very well with the theming, because like Tomorrowland is supposed to be like advanced type technology stuff, and then like it's like rocket ships, Buzz Lightyear, Tron, Space Mountain, and then you just have cars, like you're just driving cars down the road. And it's like, it's fun for like kids who can't drive, but it's literally just driving. I wanted to ride it because of nostalgia, but it's like, I don't know. I don't really get how it was supposed to fit with the theming. The next one, I almost didn't even put this on the list because it's like, it's a ride I haven't been on since I was like a child. But the Barnstormer, just because it's like, it's a ride they tried to theme after like a Disney thing, but it's literally just like your typical kiddie coaster. Like there's nothing really goofy specifically about it other than maybe the car. But it's, I don't know, it just, I get that, again, kind of like the dinosaur, the Triceratops spin ride. It goes with the theming of the area because they're going for like a big top carnival type area. So just a generic kiddie roller coaster kind of makes sense. But it also just, it doesn't feel like it has any like Disney magic. It's just a kiddie coaster, your typical children's roller coaster. Next, I have the Carousel of Progress, and this was tough to rank because it's like, I do like it, and it's hard to rank it as a ride because it's more of a show than a ride. You don't move much on it. I really maybe shouldn't have ranked it as a ride, because now thinking about it, it literally is basically a show. Like, if I'm not calling Muppet Vision 3D a ride, I probably shouldn't call Carousel of Progress a ride. But I guess I just wanted to say, I do enjoy it. The song gets stuck in my head. And I wrote it this year and I didn't even get stuck. It's the year before we got stuck on the same scene 2 times. We had to watch the same scene 3 times, I think it was. And it made it take like extremely long, but so that kind of soured my experience that year, but I really enjoyed it this year. And again, it was a way to get out of the sun with a quick wait. Next is It's a Small World, which is hard for me to rank it this low because I have a lot of nostalgia for this ride. Like, it's probably the most nostalgic ride for me in all of Disney World, because I've ridden it every year, and when I was like 6 years old in 2006, we rode it like probably like 5 or 6 times, because it was the only ride that my sister really was able to go on because she was a small child, like 3. But yeah, I just have a lot of nostalgia for that ride, I will admit. But again, it's kind of like the land. It's really relaxing. The message is really cool. And now they've even added those extra screens at the end that say goodbye to you in like sort of a creepy way, because it's like, I know you're on this ride right now. I'm going to put you on the screen. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoy It's a Small World. After It's a Small World, I have the Pooh ride. The Pooh ride, I thought about ranking below It's a Small World, but I just think it immerses you in the Pooh world really, really well. Like, it feels like you're there in like a storybook. because it has like the book pages, it has the really cool scenes. The one scene where Pooh is like dreaming and he like floats up. I don't know how they even do that. If it's like a screen or if it's a practical. It can't be a practical effect. I don't know. And then the way that they make the Heffalump room look bigger than it is by having all the mirrors everywhere is a super, super clever idea. I really like the Pooh ride. I have a soft spot for it. Again, a bit of a nostalgia pick, but I really do like the set pieces in that. Then this one is a bit of a hot take with it being this low on the list. But Jungle Cruise, I think, is kind of mid. I think it's like I could see it being really fun for the people who are going to Disney for the first time. It's my mom's favorite ride in all of Disney. And it's like you do get a bit of a personalized, different experience every time. But when you go on it as many times as I have, you realize, like, obviously the cast members have they have their collective set of jokes that they all use, their collective set of, like, script to follow, and then they throw their own little quips in here and there. But I don't know. To me, it's just, like, it's a fun experience. And my experience this time was not nearly as fun because it was hot AF, and the boats literally are not, like, cooled whatsoever. And, like, maybe I shouldn't have, like, it's like you can't expect it to be, but, like, it's not like a boat's gonna be air conditioned with it being open. But, like, no fans, we weren't moving fast enough to really get air moving. I literally had sweat dripping down my back the entire ride. It was rough. But it's fun, but I'm not as high on it as other people are. Like, I get it, and I think a lot of hype has come to it with the movie, but I don't know. I think it's okay. I don't think it's anything as massively special as other people act like it is. Next, I have Peter Pan's Flight, which is another one that maybe for some people I have ranked a little low. And I don't know, it is really immersive. It's kind of like Pooh. It feels like you're in the Peter Pan movie. But I feel like as I get older, the ride gets a little less magical. And maybe it's because I've been on it so many times now, but I just start to notice where it's like, it doesn't look, like, it looks a little dated in some spots. I don't know. It's fine. I don't like it nearly as much as some people do. Then we have the People Mover. I really like the People Mover, actually. I thought it moved really extremely slow, but I went on it 2 times, actually, during this trip. And for one of the times I went on it, Space Mountain was down, so I got to see Space Mountain with the lights on, which was super cool. And there were people stuck in there, which they had been stuck in there for 30 minutes because I had checked like 30 minutes ago to see if the ride, like, what the wait time was, and the ride was broken down then. So they had literally been stuck in Space Mountain for 30 minutes. But I rode on it twice. Well, and it was super cool to see that part in the People Mover itself with the lights on, because normally it's just pitch black there, and you can just hear the people screaming on Space Mountain, and that's about it. But it moves at a really good pace. Like, I thought it moved like about half the speed that it actually does, but it's brisk. You get a full tour of Tomorrowland, and it's yeah, it's just really, really enjoyable to me, and it's a good, like, relaxing ride too. My phone locked on me, which is where I had the list. Next, I have Under the Sea, which some people may think is a hot take to have above Peter Pan, but riding it this time solidified it as being my favorite, like, sort of dark ride. Well, I guess, I don't know if that one qualifies as a dark ride or not, but I really, really like it. Partly because, kind of similar to Frozen, I really like the the music in Little Mermaid, and it's pretty much the Under the Sea set. That part of the ride like kind of makes it for me. Like it's like there is so many moving parts in that part of the ride that it's just super impressive, because the rest of the ride is kind of like Nemo, where you're facing one way and you know that behind you there's literally nothing, so it's literally half of it is ride, half of it is blank. But that Under the Sea part, they use all of the space, and it just has so many moving parts in it, like I said. People say that the Ariel in the ride looks a little uncanny, like a little lifeless maybe even. And I do kind of agree that she looks a little off. But I don't know. I just personally really like the ride. And I really like the part in the beginning where you like go underwater and it's like you feel the air blowing on you as you go down. I know it's such a simple thing, but it's really cool. Next is Space Mountain. I regrettably did not get to ride Space Mountain this year. I was going to ride it during the Halloween party when the lights were all off, because that was going to be my best opportunity to do it, actually. But it was down again then. Like, it was literally down twice. The one time when we rode the People Mover, and then during the Halloween party, too. 2 of the 3 days that we went to Magic Kingdom, it was down. So, I did not get to ride it, regrettably. But it's okay. It's mind-blowing the first time, but it's really pretty slow moving, generally speaking. I could see it being fun when it's pitch black and maybe even a little scary. Someone was talking about it behind my dad and I in line for Tron, how it was actually pretty scary to ride it when it's pitch black, because you literally don't know when anything's coming and it feels like you're gonna like crash into someone or something. But yeah, it's a little bit, it's not dated because it's like, it's still super cool because it's like, it is like you're in space, and just like being surrounded by the stars is really, really, really cool. But it's just kind of an okay roller coaster. Next on the list is Buzz Lightyear. I did say I like Toy Story Mania more than Buzz Lightyear, but Buzz Lightyear wins in the aspect of the ride part of it. The game part, Toy Story Mania exceeds it by quite a bit, like by quite a large margin. But the ride aspect, like just the pure like set pieces of the Buzz Lightyear ride, it's super cool. I've been a fan since I was a kid. I actually had one. I bought one of the guns with Z targets, and I've loved the ride for a long time, and other people do apparently as well, because it almost always has one of the highest wait times in Magic Kingdom. But I'm really glad we got to ride it this time around. I don't remember when we fit it in, but it was not a very long wait. I think it was during our extra magic hours at Magic Kingdom the second day we went. But it's super cool. It's a really cool ride, even if you know how to get the max points very easily. Next is Haunted Mansion. I feel like there are some people who, even though it's ranked at my 5th favorite Magic Kingdom ride, I feel like there are people who might think it's low. And it is incredibly cool. Like, it looks realistic, and it still astounds me, and it's like, how do they even do this with the ghosts moving around and just the immersiveness on the ride. I will say that I've been stopped on it almost every single time, and I have the memory of like riding the entire thing with my eyes closed because I was terrified and my dad made me go on it. But it's just a super immersive ride from the beginning, like from the queue as well. And the cast members who run it as well are super good at playing their part. Next, after Haunted Mansion, I have Big Thunder Mountain, which I did get to ride on this trip, but it was earlier on in the trip. It's a little rickety. I like it. I didn't really get that good of an experience on it this time around, however, because I was in the front car, and the front, for those of you who know roller coasters, the front car, especially on one that's supposed to be fast, like Thunder Mountain, the back definitely has the biggest advantage on that ride, because it felt like we were just hanging over the drops, and we would barely get any speed. But yeah, it's super fun and super fast-paced, and I really like the theming of it as well. It's, like, now that it's really the only ride in Frontierland, it's standing the fort down super well. It's holding down the fort very well. Next on the list, in the number 3 spot, is the only ride left that is not a roller coaster, Pirates of the Caribbean. I love this ride. It's, again, super immersive. It feels like you're there in the Pirates movie, which is, from the amount of times that I've said immersive, you know, Disney, its rides just bleed immersiveness. But Pirates does it super well, from the beginning of the ride where it's like eerie to after you go down the drop. The scene with the 2 ships, like Barbossa on one shooting the cannons, that is one of the coolest set pieces in all of Disney, in my opinion. We rode on Pirates 3 times on this trip too. I think we rode it the most out of any ride, and it doesn't get old. When I was a kid, I was actually afraid of it, even because just the drop was even though the drop is like puny, I didn't ride roller coasters, so it was like terrifying for me as a child. But that was also back when they had the mist, like the face that was in the mist when you went through as well. I vaguely remember that. But yeah. Speaking of Mandela effects, before I get to the last 2 rides, I just have to say this. I was totally convinced until literally while we were there in Animal Kingdom that I had ridden the ride that was in, like, the ride that was supposed to kick off Beastly Kingdom, like, with the fire-breathing dragon. I swear I remember going, like, riding a boat on a Disney ride where there was, like, a fire-breathing dragon, and I swear I remember being on that ride. But then I looked it up, and that ride was literally, like, closed in, like, 1998 or something like that. Or, like, 99. Well, maybe it wasn't that early, but point being, it was closed before I went the first time. So it's like, I never could have possibly ridden it, but I have, like, memories of riding it that I must have created myself, which is it's a super weird phenomenon. But in second place is the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. It is so incredibly smooth. Like, after riding Big Thunder Mountain, you ride Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and it's like you're gliding on the tracks, because Thunder Mountain is so rickety. Yeah, and it has, like, set pieces within it, too, which I've read from some people who talk about the rides at Disney World who think that set pieces like that don't really have a place in, like, a roller coaster. But I think it's cool to kind of get a bit of a break from the roller coaster action to, like, see, like, the inside of the mine, and then you go up the ramp and then go down a few more drops. And it's also cool that they reused some of the stuff from Snow White's Terrifying Adventure, or whatever it was called. I'm still sad that, even if I probably would have been terrified of it as a kid, I'm sad that I never got to ride it, because it was up when we went there, when we used to go there. I probably wouldn't have even remembered. Well, maybe it would have ended up being a core memory, being terrified on there. like being terrified on Haunted Mansion and Pirates is for me. My favorite ride in Magic Kingdom and my favorite ride in all of Disney is the Tron ride. I was blown away by just the ride in general. I hadn't read anything on it. I didn't realize it blasted you off in the beginning, but as soon as the countdown started, I knew what was going down. And it literally, like, left me behind. Like, I felt like my soul was left behind at the starting gate. Kind of like Rock and Roller Coaster, but even more so, like, on the Tron ride because of the posture you're in. Speaking of the posture, though, I don't think I could ride a ride like that any longer than you have to for Tron. My neck was kind of sore afterwards, I will say. I have bad posture in general, but I don't know, my neck was a bit out of whack after that one, but it's still my favorite ride in Disney just because of how cool it is. I thought most of it was going to be outside from seeing it, like, walking by. But it really does not feel like you're outside for even that long. And the inside portions of the ride are so incredibly cool looking. But, yeah. I am almost at 2 hours, so I'm actually not going to combine my lists. I'll probably do that on a later podcast, whether it be next week or maybe next week I'll take a break from Disney World and then talk about my experiences at the Food and Wine Festival another time. They just won't be as fresh in my mind, but that's fine. I've got my list written down for that at least. But thank you all for watching / listening. I hope you all have an enjoyable rest of your day, an enjoyable evening. If it's evening, whatever time it is for you, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And I hope to catch you on the next one. Goodbye.